Welcome to the Mia Almond Show, presented by Official Woman of Culture and My Queen's Keepers. Also powered by Glow 365 and KUO Magazine. I am Coach Lady Mia. I pray you all are in good spirits when it comes to your mental health. Along with me is my co host, Miss Debbie Jarrett.
Hello, and thank you, Coach Mia. As always, it's a pleasure to be here for another exciting episode. Welcome to all that are watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you can watch previous and current shows.
Yes, Deb, this is going to be another amazing show. Today, we're having a candid conversation on an important topic of women's mental health, and it's often overlooked and misunderstood. Our special guest today is a wellness advocate and specializes in the field of mental health when it comes to women and individuals. Miss Debs, can you share some of the topics we're going to be discussing?
Sure, Coach Mia. Today's show is part one of two, entitled Being Candid on Women's Mental Health. Some of the topics we will be discussing are defining and understanding mental health, the barriers and stigma surrounding mental illness, reclaiming our well being through self care, and how we can support each other.
Thank you so much, cuz Miss Debs.
Welcome, my sister Carol.
Oh, our guest today is a very, very special young lady, a dear friend. Her name is Miss Nancy Fong Edwards. She's from the beautiful island of Jamaica. Of course, you can see the background. We're
Yes.
all Jamaicans today. Along with being a mental health advocate, she's also the president and family nurse practitioner at Sunshine Women's Health Center. She's a vice president of the Strength to Breathe and one of our mental health advisor. Welcome to show and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Miss Jarrett.
Hello, Miss Nancy. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this.
Good, good. We're excited to have you. And first, do we ever really think and ask ourselves, why is mental health so confusing? And sometimes we feel imbalanced, and it leads us to feeling like we're losing a grip. I don't like to use the word crazy. So we're losing a grip. Well, stay tuned and we'll have answers to those very questions.
Definitely have answers.
Yes.
Jamaican American Association of Central Florida presents our annual Community Health Fair on Saturday, June 1st from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Join us at the Orange County Multicultural Center, 7149 West Colonial Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32818. Medical professionals will be available on site for health screenings and consultations. Food and music provided. Vendors are welcome. Call 407 925 4063, 407 292 3719, or visit jaaocf.com for more information.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, our topic today is defining and understanding mental health. which can be a complex and multifaceted psychological and social functioning and the impacts on how we think, feel, and behave in our daily lives. Mental health exists, ranging from positive, healthy functioning and serve as mental illness. Nearly 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience mental illness each year. Miss Nancy, can you give us a better understanding of mental health and how do we assess a patient, the symptoms, to determine if they've meet the diagnostic criteria for mental health disorder, and also maybe just having a challenging or mental challenging day?
Thanks, Mia. As you said, 1 in 5 people are affected by mental health. Honestly, we all have some kind of mental health issue, some way of another, because mental health is a wide range of symptoms that affects us, and we have to understand that we are not alone. It affects everybody. So it affects our daily living. They're just different things that can cause us to have issues that can be categorized as mental health. Now, you may not have a full diagnosis or a professional diagnosis of mental health, but things like depression and anxiety, those are part of our mental health, and those are some of the more common diagnoses, which are the least likely to be diagnosed because people don't go to the doctor. They don't seek professional help when they're feeling these kind of way, or because they're ashamed of feeling weak. They're ashamed of the stigma that's around mental health. They're afraid of just being labeled as the historical female. And as you know, in our culture, you have it's kind of funny because when I used to work in the labor and delivery unit, there are names that they used to call different cultures, and it's not. I was never one of those people who to judge people, because I feel like as healthcare professionals, it's not for us to judge. Being in the hospital is it's new for these patients, and whatever way they react, it's because of their anxiety, it's because of fear, it's because of whatever they perceived hospitals to be. But sometimes people would say, okay, she's just historical, or you know find other reason to think that they're not really having an issue. And because of those same stigma, people are afraid of seeking professional help. Now, everybody may not need professional help, but they do need somebody who they can talk to, a trusted friend, somebody who is non-judgmental, somebody who they can, relate to. But unfortunately, a lot of people are afraid of talking or being vulnerable about what they're going through because of judgments and being labeled as having issues. So to find out if a patient meets the criteria to have a diagnosis, there's many different angles that we have to look at. For example, we have to find out family history, have to get a full history of this person. Is there anyone in the family that suffers mental health, depression, anxiety, stuff like that? We also have to collaborate with other physicians, maybe if they have neurologists or they have their primary care who have seen them for years and know that these are different, there are differences in this individual, and they're not being the same, they're not acting the same, they're more reserved, they're not talking as much, they're losing weight, they're not eating, they're complaining of not sleeping. A big thing that people miss a lot when it comes to anxiety and depression, which are some of the most common mental health illnesses, is stomach issue. Patient will complain a lot about having indigestion or stomach pain all the time, and a lot of that has to do with your nervous system, which is all tied to the brain, right? So
Yeah.
you have to bear in mind that it is, it's all connected, so you have to put it together. So it's not, I can't just sit here and look at somebody who I've never met before and decide that. In some cases you can say that this seems like anxiety, but to know for sure, You have to collaborate with other healthcare professionals and get a thorough history on the client to figure out if this is indeed some mental health issue that's going on. And then you also have the DSM-5, which is the diagnostic tool that we use to determine if there is a diagnosis for mental health.
Hmm. And
Wow.
no, that definitely does, play a role with, your body, because especially if somebody is, being diagnosed with an illness and going through that um, depression, the anxiety, um, and just the chronic pain
Mhm.
plays, the mental challenges all the time, because sometimes you get so frustrated that, you want to end your life, start having thoughts of suicide, and some do, attempt um, just to end that pain.
Absolutely. And it's easy for healthcare professional as well to sometimes we do have issues, real medical issues that are going on, and they can't pinpoint or they can't figure it out, and the first thing they do is they jump on, oh, you're depressed or you're having mental illness, which has happened to me in the past. And thank God I am a healthcare person, so I know that it wasn't depression. Something was going on with me physiologically. And that actually turned into depression for me because I keep walking around to all these doctors and going to all these specialists, and they keep telling me that I
Mm-hmm.
was suffering from depression. And I'm asking, what am I depressed about? I am
Mm.
now becoming depressed because you keep telling me that my symptoms weren't real,
Yeah.
and it was simple as what I was eating. So I never look at a patient and tell them that it's in your head, and it is very
Right.
common for people to say that. You have to look at the big picture. You have to get
Mm-hmm.
information not just from the patient, but you have to get medical record, previous medical records, complaints, you know, family history and all of that in order to put it together to figure out exactly what is going on. And one of the things that I like to do with my patients when I see them, I don't just ask them about the symptoms that's happening right now. I ask them, so how are you doing? How did you spend your weekend? What's going on? I try to pry a little bit, but I pry a little bit because sometimes their complaint ties right into the issue and
Mm.
what's
Yes.
going on in their social life. So, it's not just a cut dry. You have to dig a little deeper.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you for that. That was very informative, and you actually answered my next question. But Ms. Nancy, I'm going to ask you to summarize, if you will, please,
Hmm.
again, the warning signs of anxiety and depression.
Okay. Withdrawal,
Mm.
insomnia, those are some of the most common ones that
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this goes for children as well because children do suffer from anxiety and depression as well. They're not speaking, as much as they used to. They're not eating. They can't sleep at night. They wake up all hours of the night. Anxiety does that a lot for you too. Um,
Mhm.
and just change in behavior. They're not as vibrant as they used to be. Um, individual, you know, they're maybe at work and they're not performing as they used to be performing. They now not having lunch with the regular folks anymore. They're withdrawn. Um, they're complaining more of many different issues,
Mhm.
stomachache, headaches, all of those things. And you have to kind of just try to put it together. And we miss these things a lot. A lot of time we miss these signs because
Mhm.
we're like, oh, she's probably having a moment. But you know what? We have to be our sister's keepers and we have to go
Yes.
and
Yes.
talk and find out, is everything okay? And sometimes they will tell you, yeah, I'm fine. But if you know this person, just let them know it's okay to talk. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I'm here to
Mhm.
listen. And we have to be that for each other because a lot of people will not
Amen.
talk right away, but eventually they will go home and they'll think about it and they're like, you know what, I can talk to Nancy. I feel like I can speak to her about things. And it's just the way you approach it. So, be our sisters keepers. And when we see people acting out of character, not acting the way they used to be, um, just stop, take a moment and find out what's going on because you may never know whose life you may change that day.
That is
Yeah.
so true.
That is true, because actually I
So,
had a friend of mine that her friend started noticing, a different type of behavior.
Mhm.
And she was telling her that um, she feels like she's going crazy or just something, and
Mhm.
she kind of just brushed it off. She stopped calling her, like she didn't want to be associated with
Mhm.
her. And I was talking to her, and I, started asking her a few questions. And she was dealing with some, mental challenges from, being diagnosed with an illness. Plus, she was dealing with some family issues. It was just so much
Mhm.
going on that she didn't know how to cope. And she
Mhm.
sat there and she said, you know, thank you for calling today, because she was thinking about committing suicide. She
Wow.
was
Wow.
embarrassed. She didn't want to say
Mhm.
anything to anyone, because when this young lady was her friend, and just ignored her, and not even to say, hey, what's going on? What can I do? You know, she felt like she was alone. So why even bother talk to anybody? She just wanted to end her life. So
Yes.
those things are so
Isolation.
scary that we sit in silence, and it's scary.
We don't have to sit in silence. We really don't have to sit in silence. I mean, I think it's important that we maintain good friendship with people because, life
Mhm.
is easy. And I can tell you that God has blessed me with some amazing friends. And sometimes we don't see each other often, but we take up the phone and we call or we text and say, how you doing? Just checking in on you to see how you're doing. And it is important because you just never know what someone is going through. And sometimes people are afraid of being labeled, and because of that, are you know the stigma, as you know, Jamaicans are, don't like to be labeled as crazy. And you know what? We all have a little bit of crazy, so we just need to own and
Yeah.
understand that there are times we all gonna get crazy, but we're not crazy. We are human.
Yes.
Yeah,
And every one of us have issues. Every one of us have down days. I try to be as positive as I can. But there are days too when I curl up and I have to talk myself out of it. I'm like, come on, Nancy, you're so blessed. Just take a look at where you're coming from to where you are. And just find a way to motivate yourself to get up and get out and call somebody, talk to somebody, do something, and take yourself out of it. Because the more you sit there and you sabotage yourself and you mope about it, the worse it's going to be.
That's true.
yeah.
The worse.
I
You
take
gotta,
I take a Mia day very often. So, and I call Miss Deb, my cuz, to get my laughs in when I'm feeling depressed. Because today I was dealing with some challenges. I'm like, do I really want to do this show today? But hey, you
And
gotta
then
have your go-to pick me up.
we're
yeah,
gonna do it.
it's a balance, Miss Nancy, because I call her some days. We check in on each other, like you're saying, it's so important. And I call Mia and I say, Mia, don't worry, I'm okay. I'm off the grid. I'm taking a Debbie day. I go for a walk because that builds the endorphins and all of that. And, you just have to regroup. So I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly.
Find something that you really enjoy doing because I am doing a lot as me. I'm always on the go. Sometimes I think that there are about three of me running around, but I do take even 15 minutes and drive by the beach. I love the water,
Yes.
calms my soul. And I'll take 15 minutes and walk on the sand and put my toes in the sand. And you
Mm,
would not believe the joy I feel just doing that for 15 minutes. That's all it took.
that's all.
And it
I-
set my day up for an amazing day. So sometimes we just have to find out one little thing. And if I'm not close by the beach, I love to go to Ross. I don't have to buy nothing. I just like to look around.
Window shop.
yeah, we
And
know, we understand.
yeah, so just find something that you like to do. It's maybe painting. It may be, uh,
Right.
it could be anything.
Yeah,
Do a little painting over here, a little DIY in the backyard. I find something to keep my day occupied. Sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds, but you just have to
Yeah.
put your mind to it.
even to do puzzles sometimes
There you
relaxes the mind. And
listen to a podcast. Sometimes I'm going to work and I may have a bad morning or and I'm like, today's gonna be a good day. I talk to myself a lot in the mirror and I'll put some gospel on or something and it changes my mood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we have to learn to find something that's going to help us to get into a better place. And if you don't have someone to talk to at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
find something that works for you to get you into a better place. And God is always listening. Even
God,
feel
number
like he's not
one.
listening, never lose.
Number one.
Absolutely.
For me personally, it's music, a certain song. It's
Mm-hmm.
a Beautiful Morning by the Rascals. You know that song? I put that on and I feel great.
I've been listening to a lot of Tasha Cobbs lately.
Okay,
Cobbs, yeah, and it's been good.
good.
We have to find the balance.
And that's the key.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Miss Nancy, what are some of the silent cries for help that many of us overlook or ignore, with our family and friends? What are some of those?
Um, like I said earlier, some of the silent cries are similar to
Hmm.
those of some of the signs and symptoms because the withdrawal is a big deal. It's something that you'll see. People are just acting outside of their character. And
Mm.
believe it or not, if somebody keeps coming to you and asking you certain kinds of questions, you know, and you feel like, okay, what's wrong with Mia? Why is she asking me these questions?
Hmm.
Maybe you should stop and listen, you know, because they may really have something to say. They don't know how to say it, but they're fishing around to see if you'll pick up on it and pick up that, they need some help. People asking you question about moving away, people just asking you random question that you're like, okay, but a lot of times they will do that. Removing themselves from isolation is a really big one. Isolation, sleeping a lot is another one. Even, and that's for depression, sleeping a lot. Whenever you see a person curls up in the fetal position,
Mm.
that is a big sign of depression.
Wow.
You may ask what's wrong. Nothing is wrong, but the fetal position is a really big sign of depression.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Yes. Unfortunately, my ex-husband used to do that a lot, but he would never talk to me. He'd never say anything to me.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
but
mm.
I knew that was what was happening when he started behaving that way. So,
Oh,
and I knew he had depression. So, that is a really, really big sign of depression. Children doing that as well a lot, because children like to sleep like that. But if you see them doing it a lot during the middle of the day, they're laying in
mhm,
the sofa and they just curl up. Think about it. When you're feeling a little sad and
mhm,
depressed, what do you do?
mhm. Want to go in my bed?
And curl up under the blanket, right? Yes. So if you see somebody
Curl up.
doing
Yeah.
that, that is a very big sign of depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drinking a lot, consuming a lot of alcohol, smoking, maybe smoking marijuana a lot. That is also another sign. So now they're abusing um, substances to mask the pain,
Mm-hmm.
which it really doesn't mask the pain. You make you feel good for the moment, but then as soon as it wears off, you're back to reality and they keep doing it again. So substance abuse is also a big sign of depression.
Wow. Thank you, Mia.
Yeah,
Food,
there's so many symptoms,
food, food
even
abuse.
going back to insomnia, because I deal with that. I have chronic insomnia, but going back almost 24 years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer,
Mhm.
went through that depression of having thoughts of suicide, and I used to curl up in my bed and cry, and I had all these things, and because of the chemo that made me so sick that I even at one point I took my blanket and pillow in the bathroom because it was just too much going from the bathroom to the bed, because that chemo, it sucks the life out of you.
Hmm.
And I would just crawl up on the floor there, try to block everything out. And then I started having, thinking about all different ways to just end this. So that is a big, and even when I, chronic pain, again, curling up in the bed.
Wow. Wow.
It is. When someone is diagnosed with a new diagnosis, it might not seem to the most of us like it's a big deal. but that individual has to face that diagnosis. That individual have to deal with it. They have to deal with possibly the mortality, just what may
Yeah.
come at the end of it. And
Mhm.
so we may not be able to feel the emotions at that person, but we have to have empathy, because we have to try and understand that this is real. This is their life. This is in their hands, and this is they're facing. And the way we look at our lives and the way we look at, you know, transition, and may not be the same as how
Mhm.
that individual does that. So we can't just be like, oh, it's not a big deal. We have to be able to sympathize with individuals, and try to, meet them where they are. Let them talk about it, and find ways to help. Because, I mean, I'm sure 24 years ago, Mia, when you had your diagnosis and going through chemo, you never thought you would still be here 24 years later.
No. Mm-mm.
You thought you probably would have been history by now. And see, with the
Yeah.
grace of God, you're still here. Thank you, Jesus.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. I
help,
echo, I echo you, Miss Nancy.
helping
And the
millions of
Lord
people.
has other plans for me. What it
Yes,
is, I
yes.
don't know. But I've seen people that have been diagnosed with, various cancers, and it came back. And, I've heard that sometimes they come back with a vengeance.
The vengeance. And
And I was just like, Lord, I got to pray every day and be thankful, because every day I wake up, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I don't care if it's raining, storming, whatever it is. Just being able to wake up, it's a
and
wonderful
breathe.
thing. And,
Have the
you know,
strength to breathe.
yes, strength to breathe.
Right. The strength to breathe. Thank you.
It is
Yeah.
important.
Thank you for sharing that, Mia.
Yeah.
And thank you for the insight, Miss Nancy. And right now, we're going to take a quick break. And when we return, we'll discuss the barriers and stigma surrounding mental health.
Jamaican American Association of Central Florida presents our annual Community Health Fair on Saturday, June 1st from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Join us at the Orange County Multicultural Center, 7149 West Colonial Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32818. Medical professionals will be available on site for health screenings and consultations. Food and music provided. Vendors are welcome. Call 407 925 4063, 407 292 3719, or visit jaaocf.com for more information.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we are talking about mental health. And right now, we're going to talk about the stigma surrounding mental health disorders that can lead to a delay in treatment, reduce the quality of life, social isolation, discrimination, and the increased risk of being traumatized. Miss Nancy, what are the most significant barriers that women with mental illness face due to stigma, and have barriers that impact their daily lives and the ability to even access proper care and support?
Great question, Mia. As women, like I said earlier, it is so easy to be judged or labeled as historical or dramatic. And because of that, it is very difficult for some of us to go and seek mental health. So fear is a big issue when it comes to the fear of being labeled as mentally um, unstable is a big issue with us. And there's so many, depending on the work that you're in, the environment that you're working in, you are afraid of the feeling that you're weak to seek help. Most of these large corporations do have mental health services, And they have them there because they know the work is a stressful environment, so they have these resources for their employees, but a lot of employees don't utilize them. For one, number one, they might be in the same building as the therapist or the mental health advocate or whomever is it that they have. Number two, they don't want anyone to know that these supposed to be private, but as we know, a lot of things aren't the way it's supposed to be. So they don't want to be labeled as unstable because they're afraid they might lose their job, or they may seen by their superior that they're not capable to handle the stress, when it stress probably has nothing to do with their job. So there's a lot of stigma surrounding that. Another barrier that is how to access service. What kind of service is available? Who do I need to talk to? Not everybody needs a psychiatrist. Some people may just need a therapist. They just need someone to talk to. You know, some people might need a psychiatrist, some people might need a psychologist. So it is important to talk to your primary care to determine exactly what is it that you might need. Postpartum depression is a big thing, and I'm sure we've heard the news, and I've heard people go off the deep end because of postpartum depression. And so that's one of the things that I am very, very keen on when I have a postpartum patient, to make sure that how they feel about becoming a new mom. How is it going? You don't get a lot of sleep. Your life has turned upside down. You may not have the supportive partner, or family. And I work out in Belglades where there's a lot of low income, so a lot of people don't have a lot of support there, and the education is lacking, so there's no one really to explain to them about postpartum depression, that what you're feeling, it's not normal. You might need to seek some professional help. So knowledge is a big thing, so it's very important to educate people. And I think what we're doing here is kind of lightening the mood and let people know that it is okay to talk to someone if you just don't feel right. You
Yeah.
just don't feel yourself. You're just not feeling like you're supposed to feel. So stigma is a big thing. Insurance is another big thing. There's a lot of therapists don't take insurance, so you might have to pay cash because they're not on insurance plans. And
Mhm.
you might be on a commercial insurance that doesn't cover mental health. A lot of insurance doesn't cover mental health, which is a very sad thing. Now, there are a lot of support in the community. There are a lot of services that you can get. It might take a long time to get to some of these services, but they are available to us. And you just have to talk to the right people. One of the main person you can talk to is your primary care, because they usually have a list of
Girls. Yeah.
centers or individuals that you can reach out to get these mental health services. There are hotlines that you can call as well if you're feeling suicidal. There are things that you can do to get these things, and you can do them in private. Nobody has to know. You can find a
Mhm.
therapist. And nowadays with online access and all of these other good stuff, there's it's as close as your fingertip, to find. I'm sure if you go online and you type in mental health services or a therapist, you'll find somebody. And with internet these days, it's very easy to make sure these people are credentialed and you're speaking to the correct individuals. So with the Brain Love Foundation, Mia, my friend Delvina, she is a psychiatrist, and she does a lot of free forums, at least once a month. She does forums in the community that we talk about mental health, not just mental health, but illnesses and many different things. So people are always doing things in and around your community in order for you to be able to access or get information. So even
Mhm.
if you don't want to go and find a therapist yourself because you're afraid to be labeled. A lot of people don't want to be labeled. They don't want to take medication prescribed to them. And I understand that because insurance companies now, if you're trying to get insurance, they want to know, so why were you taking Zoloft? They're questioning you.
Really.
A lot of people don't want to get these things on their profile because they think that it can be an issue. It can be an issue. So but even if you don't take medication, you can speak with someone. You can reach out to someone and let them know what is going on. And just, your primary care is a really good place to start, or your OBGYN is a really good place to start to get help. And like
Thank
I said, the internet is always there where you can access some of these help. And a lot of them, you can get a lot of free advocates online to speak with.
That's
Just
awesome.
be
Awesome.
willing.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Nancy. And
You're welcome.
again, I'm going to ask you to summarize because you've answered some of this, but these are two specific questions. From your experience advocating for mental health, what are some of the most persuasive and harmful stigmas or misconceptions about mental illness that need to be addressed? And how can we effectively challenge and counter these stigmatizing beliefs?
As a Jamaican woman,
Yes.
I can say that the stigmas are real. One of the thing is just not want to be labeled as called crazy or unstable. That's
Mm,
one of the biggest barrier in mental health. It's the stigma. It's just being labeled as, unstable. Now, what we have to do, like I said earlier, is that we have to understand that we are not alone. Every single one of us has had the days when we are not feeling well. And that doesn't necessarily bring over to mental health. But if we don't take care of that moment, it is going to continue and it's going to keep building and building and building until it becomes something bigger. Now, there are different mental health issues. For example, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and some of those things aren't, they need to be seen and they need to be really addressed in a more professional and to be diagnosed properly. So,
mhm.
and but those illnesses, you will see erratic behavior, you'll see psychosis, you'll see, you will know, for example, a patient with schizophrenia will be hearing voices and totally acting different than normal. So you will know something is going on with them. But
Right.
we're talking about, if we're talking about anxiety and depression, which are very serious issues as well, we have
Mhm.
to learn to nip it in the bud. We have to learn to don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about the stigma. Know that you're here because if you can't help yourself, you can't help anybody else. You might have children and family who depend on you. And if you're not able to take care of yourself, ignore the stigmas because they're going to be there.
That's
You have
great.
to learn to ignore the stigmas and
Mhm.
try to find the help that you need.
Amen.
So to sum it all up, we have to learn to first we have to understand that we are not alone. Everybody goes through this. It's not even if it's gonna happen, it's a matter of when and how long before it comes. It's a cycle, right?
Mhm.
So we have to learn to understand how are we going to deal with it? How are we gonna handle it? And we have to learn that some people may label you or the stigma might come with it, but we have to understand that they have it too. They're just not talking about it. So you're not alone.
That's
And
right.
most people will actually be proud of you to talk about it and deal with your issue than suffer in silence.
Mm. Hmm. That's very informative. Thank you.
I know that we're talking about women here, but I really can't wait for the men's section to come up because men suffer so much. So
Oh yeah,
much.
we're gonna do that at the end of
It's coming
the end
up.
of the month.
Hmm.
They're great pretenders to smile like everything is
Yes.
okay when they're dying on the inside.
And, and again, it goes back to culture too.
Absolutely.
This,
Especially Caribbean people.
yeah,
Yeah.
the stigma,
Mhm.
and men are supposed to be men. They're not supposed to cry or feel, and so yeah, that really is informative. Miss Me, you had a question?
Yeah. Can you share some of the successful strategies or initiatives that can have an effective in reducing the stigma and also increasing the awareness and promoting more inclusive and understanding environment for
Mhm.
individuals with mental health condition? And also, what role can mental health advocates play in driving these efforts?
All right.
I know that was a mouthful.
And I wanna try to answer the question as best as possible. But so the first thing that we need to do is to as providers, healthcare providers, we have to approach each individual as an individual.
Mm,
So we as professionals have to understand that everybody is different and everybody deals with situation differently. Now, this is a part of our assessment in assessing how that person thinks by speaking with the individual. Find out what their thought process is and try to communicate with them on a level that they will be able to understand. People don't want to feel like they're being judged or labeled, as we
mm,
know there's a big stigma in mental health. So if you're talking to a patient that you think might potentially be going through something, what you want to do is to try to, encourage them and let them know that, they're not alone. We all go through these things. And sometimes I often, you know, break down and even include my experience, my personal experience with them. So they feel comfortable to know that,
mm,
oh, so this doesn't just happen to me. She has had similar experience in the past. So that way it breaks down that barrier and let them understand that we all have differences and we all have issues that we face and they're not alone. And I think one of the biggest thing with people when they're going through things, they tend to think that they are alone. The world is crashing down on them, and how are they going to get out of it? So we have to try and give them hope. We have to try to direct them in the direction of doing something that's going to help them. I often get women in my clinic who are suffering from depression and anxiety due to relationship,
mhm,
and a lot of it that they're pregnant, or they may be pregnant for somebody who said the child is not theirs, or they might be pregnant a teenager, or this might be their fifth kid at 25. And what I try to do, and like I said, I work out in Belgrade. It's rural, it's a very low income community. Education is lacking out there. And what I try to do to them is try to let them look at things from a positive perspective. This child might be the blessing. God will help you through this. You have to believe, you have to trust and believe that, there are better days ahead. You just have to try to get to their level as professionals. And when you do that, you might be able to get to them, that you're able to, so that they'll be able to accept help.
mhm,
They may be open to accept the referral that you're going to give them. But you first have to talk to them. You have to let them know that you value them. You value their life and what happens to them. And
that's
that way they will be able to move on and say, okay, I'll take up Miss Nancy on this offer here to go and see this psychiatrist or this counselor. Explain
mhm,
that you're not alone. There are a lot of people who does this. I've been there before. I've had my own counseling sessions too. And that way they won't feel like it's a stigma, or they're alone, or they're doing this by themselves. So sometimes we have to get to that level.
thank you. And I am extremely familiar with Belgrade.
Oh, you are. So you know what I'm talking about.
I am, and I'll be happy to refer people to you. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I love working out there because I feel like
Yeah,
I so much more there than anywhere else.
yes, very familiar. I have family there, actually. Yes.
Sometimes what I do when I see these young lady come and they're in such, depressed,
Mm-hmm.
dire mode, I would look at them and I would say, what do you like to do?
Right.
Do you like to do hair? Do you like to do nails? What is some of the stuff that you see around that? Do you like some that would be like, oh, I like to braid hair or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And okay, so if you like to braid hair and you're having money issue finding money, then why don't you get some cards, or even get a little flyer and put your number on it and give it out to people so they know that you do hair, so that way you can get some money and you may be home. I try to encourage them how they can make their own little living without worrying about who's gonna pay their bills, or they have to stay with this person, this abusive person, because they can't do any better. I often tell the young ladies who are pregnant, teen pregnancies, I am a teenage mother myself. I had my daughter when I was 16, and
Mm-hmm.
I had my son at the age of 19, and they both are doing amazing. My daughter works for a Fortune 500 company where she's a senior manager and
Mm-hmm.
does very well at the age of 30. My son also
Wow.
does very well. He's an automotive. technician with Mercedes Benz, and
Mm.
has his own shop, and he is
Mm.
only 27 years old. So I tell him this is not the end of the world, and look where I'm at, you know. So I
That
use myself as an example a lot of time to say that if I can do it, you can do it too. You know,
well,
life is what you determine it's going to be with the grace of God, obviously.
this is a miracle. You see how God works? I
Absolutely.
know a lot of people in Belgrade who I can refer to you
Hmm.
for guidance. So thank you. And
I
now let's take a quick break. And when we return, we will talk about how to reclaim our well being through self care.
love that.
Food, music, and romance. The perfect combination. I am vegan chef Sandy Maurice. My sensational vegan recipes are sensational. Jerk chickpea salad, Mary Berry Bliss, apple walnut salad, and cashew cream parfait. Let's cook with love and passion and start making your sensational vegan recipes. Order your sensational vegan recipes cookbook today. $29.95 at vegantunacafe.com.
Welcome back. In today's fast paced world, prioritizing our well being is essential for preventing burnout and reclaiming control over our lives. Self care has the power to transform our physical, emotional, mental, and social health,
Mhm.
empowering us to navigate life's challenges and resilience and inner peace. Nancy, what are some of the self care regimens we can do daily or weekly to get unstuck and embrace and maintain our well being?
Mia and Miss Debbie, self care is very, very important when it comes to mental health and wellness. Um, I often tell people that the first thing I do when I get up, I make my bed, makes
Mhm.
me feel better. I go in the bathroom, I wash my face, and I brush my hair. Because when you look in the mirror and you see something that you like,
Mhm.
you instantly feel better. So those are step number one when you wake up. I don't care if you sleep on a mattress on the floor. You get up and you make that bed, you're going to feel different, right? Now, um, doing simple things like exercise. A lot of people don't do exercising, but going for a walk. One of my favorite things to do, other than going to the beach, is going outside and get that early morning sunshine.
Yes.
It is extremely important. It releases all the good hormones. It's good for our skin. It helps us to sleep. It increases our vitamin D. I cannot tell you all the benefits of that little 15 minutes in the sun. Just stand there in the morning. It's not too hot.
Mhm.
Just get the sunlight. Get out of the house. Open the windows. Get light in. They're very simple things that you can do. I love to travel. So, as busy as I am, I find time for myself. People, I don't care who thinks anything. I don't care really because I have to take care of me. Now, I take care of everybody else, but when it's time to take care of me, I am going to do that. So I like to travel. A couple
Mhm.
times a year, I'll make trips with my friends and we go wherever across the world we decide to go. And that's my time to recoup, to regenerate myself. There are days when I get up and I'll just go to the park. I spend a day in the park. This past Sunday, I had a pool day. I invite some friends over. We spend the whole day in the pool. We laugh, we talk, we eat. Those
Mhm.
things are important, self care.
Yes.
And self care is not selfish. Self care is actually very good for us. Some people do take self care to another level, and that's being selfish. But for me, self care is inviting my friends over. It didn't cost much. Everybody bring up a plate, and we all get together. We eat, we play music, we have a good time. And there's simple things we can do to regain, back our mental health and our peace and our
Mhm.
happiness. And we have to be able to do some of those simple things. Go for a walk in the evening. Listen to good music that's going to bring you peace and joy. And these
Mhm.
are just the simpler things that you can do. Very simple things that you can do. Do something that's going to make you happy. Exercise, join a gym. What I did recently, I joined a soca fitness class, and let me tell you, when you surround yourself with women who are happy, the energy doesn't lie.
No.
Because even if they're not feeling good, just by being in the environment, and I can tell you that every time I go there, it just it's like I'm rejuvenated into a whole new person, because I'm just so happy when I leave. The music, the laughter,
Laughter.
the instructor, she does not tolerate any kind of criticism. This is a place of wellness when you come here. So if you're going to criticize, don't come into her studio. So you have to surround yourself with people,
Yeah.
positive people. We
Yes.
have to understand that we can't wake up in the morning and hear somebody who moan and complain about all their problems all the time. I'm not talking about that friend who may need to listen.
Mhm.
But we have to think about our, we can't be on the phone for 2 weeks listening to the same babbling all over and over again.
Mhm.
Janie is calling at 8 o'clock in the morning. I cannot talk to Janie right now. I'll call her back at 12 when I have more time and I already have my mojo going. That is
Yeah.
self. So we
And it's
have to
also, setting boundaries too,
setting
because
boundaries,
if
healthy boundaries.
we keep allow them to do that, we become their dumping ground,
Yes.
and
And
then
what
it starts
happens
to
is sucks
affect
the
what
energy out
they're
of
going through. Hmm.
suck the energy
Mhm.
when we have our own things to go through too. So we have to set healthy boundaries with people, family members. I do have some family members when I see them calling. I'm busy. I'll leave a text. I can't speak right now. I'll call you back when I, have a chance or a moment. And I have some friends too. They're not gonna call me at 7 o'clock with the babbling, because I have to have my prayer. I have to get up and brush my hair and wash my face and have my coffee. Then we can talk about it. So we have to set healthy boundaries.
And again, I'm going to ask you to summarize because you have answered all our questions. And we appreciate it. And I just want to say something. Laughter is so important in the sisterhood. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
That's a good thing. Coach me and I do that a lot.
Oh yeah, I send her funny little YouTube jokes and stuff on Instagram.
Laughter is good. It's like I said, having
Amazing.
having healthy relationship with people, setting boundaries, doing things that you like to do,
Yeah.
doing fun things, spending time with your children, going to the park, just playing around. Don't be so stiff. Let loose. Just do
Mhm.
the things that do simple things. There are parks all over. There's a lot of free stuff that we can do. And nowadays they even have malls where they have beautiful flowers, a beautiful wall. Just go and take a walk free. You don't have to pay for anything. Just get out
Mhm.
of the house and just try to set healthy balances. Some people get up and they're constantly running every day. You jump in the car and you're running from home with the kids from school, dropping off to you set no time for yourself. Set a little bit of time for yourself. 30 minutes, an hour,
Well,
sometime you have to set for yourself in order to recoup, because you're going to drive yourself crazy and you're
mhm.
going to get burned out. Balance is important. Very important.
Balance. Well, again, you just answered the question. I was going to ask you, how can we overcome guilt or feeling selfish when prioritizing self-care, especially as a woman who may feel pressure to constantly put the needs of others first. So thank you for answering. You answered the question. Thank you.
Um,
And the
let me elaborate a little bit more. I'm a mother of four and I have two younger boys. They're 14 and 9.
uh-huh.
I am on the road a lot and I'm always helping people. I do work a lot, but the time that I spend with them is quality time. So people might think that I'm not here with them every day, but the time
Mhm.
I spend with them is way more quality time than most people spend with their kids, because they might be locked up in a room playing a game or something. When I'm home with my boys, we're cooking, we're in the pool, we're doing things. We travel together. So they get really good time with me. If you were to check out my kids, they've been so exposed, you would not believe. They've traveled to many different places in the world. They've been on cruises, they've done so many things. So
Mhm.
even though I'm busy and I'm not here every single day, they always know how to reach me. So I don't feel guilty. I don't. And if I have to take a week off to go to Dubai, they know that mommy needs her time. I really
That's
don't feel guilty because at the end of the day, they're going to get older, they're going to grow up, and they're going to move on. And I'm going
and
to
you're
sit
gonna
me
remember.
my mental health.
That's right. They're going to remember how important it is and take it into their lives, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so the next question we have for you is, can you suggest ways that we can make self-care a sustainable, long-term practice in our lives rather than just a temporary fix? And what are some tips for turning self-care into a lifelong journey?
First of all, self care can never be temporary. It won't work. We have to have a mental mindset, and that's where it starts. We have to have a mindset that self care is what's going to propel us to the next level in our life. Um,
Hmm.
we have to understand that when we exercise today, it is not just for today, but it's for 10 years down the line. What we eat is not just to fill our belly right now. It is
Hmm.
how it affects our body the next 10 years down the line. So that's why self-care is not just momentarily. It is something that we have to implement. Now, you may not do the same thing every day, but you have an idea of what you need to do when you take breaks on your own. Sometimes I'll take breaks and just rent a hotel in Naples and go for the weekend. And you have to have the mindset that, why am I going to waste money to go to a hotel? It is not about the money, and it's not about wasting to go to a hotel because you live so close. It's about getting away from your regular routine,
Hmm.
having that mental clarity that's going to rejuvenate you in a cost effective way, so you can continue what you're doing. Because, like I said before, if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of anybody else.
Hmm.
So you don't feel guilty about taking care of you. You have to prioritize yourself. And a lot of times we give and forget about ourselves.
So
So in order to make self-care a long term plan, which it needs to be, set small goals.
true.
Set goals, for example, okay, every month I'm going to have a date night maybe with my husband. That's a part
Hmm.
of self-care too, because it's something that you're going to do that is not only going to help your relationship, but it's going to be uh, joyful, something exciting to look forward to. You know, okay, every other weekend I'm going to do something special with the children. You're
Hmm.
going to enjoy yourself, and you're not going to look at it as a chore. You're going to look at it as something you're going to enjoy with your family. And while you're setting that self-care, you're doing it. You cannot look at things as a chore. You have to look at it as an experience.
Hmm.
And that boils into your self care right there. So, self
That's
care is not necessarily being by yourself and just doing all this for yourself. It is
right.
what you do with the people you love that going to make you feel good on the inside.
That's
That,
right.
so if you implement these things, you will realize that you're doing self care and you don't even realize you're doing it.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's so
What's that
it's a
smile
mindset.
on your face?
You have to tell yourself it's a mindset. I don't look at work as I'm going to work. I just say work because I want people to understand where I'm going. But I get up
Hmm.
every day and I go do something that I absolutely love to do.
Great. That's right.
It gives me great joy. And because of that, I don't even look at the amount of patient on the schedule today. I don't
Okay.
care. See who I see. When it's over, it's over. I don't bring anxiety on myself to figure out how many procedures I have to do, how many people I have to see today. No. When I get there, I deal with it that way.
That's right. That's
You have to
good.
have that mindset in order to maintain self-care.
Yes. You're taking charge of you.
Absolutely. And that's
That's right. That's right. And that's so insightful. I'm really enjoying this. And I have to ask the next question. As a woman of color, how can I use self care as a tool for healing from intergenerational trauma and reclaiming, say, my sense of self worth and well being. What self care practices might be beneficial?
I am so glad you asked that question.
Oh, good.
And I'm the reason why I say that, I always look at myself as one of those game changers when it comes to generational trauma.
Oh,
Because um, growing up in Jamaica, a lot of our grandparents have a mindset, a different mindset from us. And
mm-hmm.
it's just because of the trauma that they may have endured, because slavery hasn't been that long. And
Right.
one of the things that really changed things for me and allowed me to be the way I am and the way I look at things was my trip to Ghana. Now, everybody can't go to Ghana, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody has YouTube so they can actually research their history. And when
That's
I
right.
look at the things that our ancestors endure, it makes me value the here and now. Because without what they have gone through, we would not have been here to be able to enjoy this moment that we have here.
Exactly.
So
True.
living in gratitude and be grateful is one
Yes.
of the biggest thing in changing that generational um, trauma and,
Mm-hmm.
and stigma and whatever they want to call it, that changes how people think. We have to be grateful for where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
Mia said earlier, getting up, able to breathe is something that we have to be grateful for. There are times when I wake up and I'm like, oh, things are not the way that I want. But then I look up in my house and I said to myself, I moved to America with a duffel bag at 21 years old. I had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord has brought me to places I could never imagine in my wildest dream. And it's because of my positive attitude and living in gratitude why I'm able to be where I'm at today. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to learn to be appreciative for the small things. The
Amen
small
to
things.
that.
We
And
have to be able to appreciate the small things in life in order for us, for God to bless us with bigger things.
I was going to say they lead to the bigger things and overall well-being.
Absolutely. So that's
So,
what we're
yeah.
going to bring generational trauma. And I tell my kids, whenever they are complaining about something, I'll make a comparison. And I
No.
said, look how grateful you should be,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, where we are just by sitting here. It's an amazing honor for us to be doing this and being able to be free on this platform to talk about whatever is it that we would like to talk about. We have to be grateful for that.
I tell kids that all the time, not just my kids, but my house is like Grand Central Station used to be for the kids. And I would try to coach them too and say, be grateful. There was a time we couldn't be in a house and have all this freedom. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. The other day, I got a message on Instagram, and I didn't know who it was from, but I found out later it's one of my little
Uh-huh.
cousin. And believe it or not, how you carry yourself and how you behave and your attitude, it spills over to your generation. I cannot tell you how many of my little nieces and nephews that look up to me that I didn't even know about. But the message came to me on Instagram, and this was back in the era that she was talking about was about 2007. And she said to me that you were the first person, and I don't know who this was, but I know this person must have known me because there was an Instagram and Facebook, you know,
Mhm.
like it is now to show any of my business, you know. And she said to me that you were the first person to introduce me to the finer things in life. You were the first person to own a restaurant. You're the first person to drive a BMW, and it might sound cliche, but you're the first person to graduate
Yeah.
university. And she said, I just want to let you know how much I admire you. Your drive is crazy and I respect it. Thank you so much. And I literally bawled.
You see,
And you
you
know
didn't
what?
realize.
I
Yeah.
know that this was at the time when I found out who it was, she must have
Mhm.
been about 11 or 12.
Wow.
Yes. And
Wow.
now she is doing very well. She is, she's mastered certified HR representative doing her big thing.
Wow.
And
Bless
I
God.
am glad that I was able to be who I am and inspire others. So,
Mm-hmm.
the way we carry ourselves and the way we talk to people and the way we interact with individuals, believe it or not, they're watching.
Yeah, Miss Me and I talk about that all the time. I have this thing
They
I create
are watching.
about, yeah, about the village, and I did a segment on another show about creating unity amongst women in the village, and be careful how we carry ourselves, because as queens, because the princesses are watching. So I'm very happy to hear that story you just shared. Thank you.
They are watching. They really are.
They
So we have
really are.
that.
And so we're going to move on to the next question. Thank you, Miss Nancy. I am enjoying this. So, what are some, and again, you answered it, I'm just asking you to summarize, okay? What are some practical self care strategies, say, I can incorporate into my daily routine to help manage stress, improve my overall mental health? And how important is it to join a support group for women's health?
It is extremely important to join a support group. It doesn't even have to be women's health. It could just be any kind of support group. It eventually it will become a women's health support group because that's what we do as women. We support each other, right? So it is important to support. Like I said, the soca fitness, it's a fitness thing, but in the middle of it, we stop and we talk about what we're grateful for. So it is just important to join any group of people who are positive,
Mhm,
like-minded, who are moving in a forward direction. It is very important to be around those kind of positive influences,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And things you can do to decrease anxiety in everyday situation is like, I know that each of us work is different, but like I said before, I don't sit today, and we have to live in the moment. There's this book by Eckhart Tolle that I read, and it's called oh my gosh, I'm having a brain bleed here. What's the name of the book? Living in the Moment, I believe it's called. It's by Eckhart Tolle, and you really can't miss it if you put his name up. But it's
Mhm.
about living in the moment. And for me, that book changed my life when I listened to
Wow.
that book, because we cannot waste today worrying about tomorrow. Because, have you ever worried about, oh, work is going to be so crazy tomorrow? I have all these things done. And
Mhm.
tomorrow come half the patient didn't show up, but you wasted all day yesterday worrying
Right,
about tomorrow.
right,
So
right.
some of the easiest thing that we can do, we can just pray, enjoy the moment, and let tomorrow handle itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like
True.
tomorrow, and that decreases anxiety, decreases your blood pressure, decrease corticosteroids in your body, it decreases weight gain, it decreases all kinds of stuff just by not worrying about things that you have absolutely no control about at the moment. One of the things he said is that when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're worrying about what you have to do tomorrow, ask yourself this question: what can I do about it now? What
Mm-hmm.
can you do about it at 3 o'clock? Absolutely nothing. So,
No.
get your mind off, go to bed, and deal with it tomorrow. And that will decrease anxiety when you wake up in the morning. So, we have to learn to live in the moment. Don't let the moment pass.
That's right.
What
That's
you can do
right.
it today, don't wait for tomorrow. Pick up the phone and call a friend, have a conversation, you know,
Yes.
live in the moment. It's very important.
Yes,
I know
definitely.
so many people that live their entire life planning.
Hmm.
Oh, I want to do this. I want to retire at 50. And I can tell you about a few friends that I've had. These are males, but
Mm-hmm.
it happens to females too. Retire at 50, or I want to do this, and you get up and you work, work. One of my friend is a physician, and he work hard, and he never go on vacation, and he never, did a lot of the things that a family did. He missed out on a lot of those things because he wanted to retire at 50. We don't know what 50 looks like. You know what happened at 50? He got a divorce, lost half of everything he worked for.
See?
And now he is lost because not only that he's tired and don't want to work that much anymore, he doesn't have a family anymore. Because the time when you were supposed to be spending living in the moment, you were worrying about 20 years from now. 20 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
and now what you gonna do? Everybody is gone. So we have to learn to live in the moment. I'm not saying not to prepare, but
Right,
live in the moment. Don't
right.
worry about it too much. Set things into motion and let things play out, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. My good friend Altia,
So true.
we never know that we were going to have the last conversation. and she's gone.
Yeah.
But you know what she did? She lived in the moment for her
Hmm.
children. They had an amazing
Yes.
time. She never worried about all of whatever is going to happen next year, 10 years down the line. She was one of those people who lived in the moment. So I know she would say, boy, it's really hard. But she wouldn't want you to be crying.
Well, bless her heart. And you're here for us, and we want you to know we're here for you.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes.
Um,
Miss Mia.
Before we go to Deb's words of wisdom, I wanted to, if you could touch on, I know in this issue of KO Magazine, you had touched on a topic of the state of mental health in Jamaica. I've seen that we're Jamaicans. Can you share a little bit about what's going on in Jamaica as far as the mental health?
So it's other than the stigma, which is a big stigma that we have in Jamaica, it is the resources is very, very far and few in between. And the
Mhm.
big problem that we're facing in Jamaica is that people is lacking education. They do not know where to go.
Mhm.
They do not know where to turn to. As Mia, you know that on December 26th, my friend Delvina, the same a psychiatrist who has the Brain Love Foundation here in South Florida, she took 7 of her therapists and we went down to Montego Bay and we had a full day of mental health. And it was free. And I plan to do many more of those, God's willing. And
Wow.
I have to tell you, I was blown away by the outcome. First, people was telling me, "Oh, Nancy, it's Boxing Day. People are gonna party. Nobody's gonna want to come." And I said, "Well, they can fix their mental health and then party later, but I'm going." And let me tell you, it was amazing. I mean, for days, I keep thinking to myself, "Dear God, I was not expecting this." I mean, we had a 14-year-old who was cutting her wrist. She
Oh
had
dear.
no mother. She didn't know her father. She was living with just family members. She didn't get to she didn't get to the bottom of what was happening. I don't know if she was just afraid, but we suspected that she was being abused, sexually abused. Um,
Mhm.
we had another young lady that came in with a similar situation. We had 4 guys walking up at 11 o'clock with rum cup in their hand, and I'm looking like, are they coming to us? Sure enough, they're coming to us because they were trying to figure out how they can um,
Mhm.
stop abusing alcohol. Mind you, they're walking to us with the rum cup in their hands
Mhm.
and asking for help. In Jamaica, you don't hear a man come ask for help because man can hold him liquor. You know,
Mhm.
did not know where to turn to help them. Now, one of my cousins, she's not with Ministry of Health anymore, but she does have a lot of information that she will give to me as to what some of the programs are because she had some of the programs. She's an attorney. She was an attorney with the
Mhm.
Ministry of Health, so she's very well connected and knows different programs
Mhm.
going on. And I think I mentioned her to you the other day, Mia.
Yes, you did.
He has a lot of insight as to how I'm so grateful that I have her to guide me into how to get into some of these institution and how we can implement programs so people can get the help they need. And I think that access is a big
Mhm.
problem that we're facing in Jamaica.
Yes.
Because, like I said, I did not expect so many people to come. My first patient in my clinic in Montego Bay, I never forget her. I went into the room and I introduced myself to her, and I noticed she didn't fill out complete all the form. And I said to her, "You don't have an next of kin?" And she said, "No." I said to myself, "This is Jamaica. How could you not have another person to call if
Mhm.
something happens to you?" And the young lady just started bawling.
Wow.
Mm.
So I put the paper down and I draw the stool and I sat down and I said, "Talk to me. What is going on? What's happening?" And she started explaining to me that she has a child for this older white man who lives in Europe and he abuses her emotionally, financially, and she was just bawling. And a lot of times, what these people do, they isolate you from your family. They make you turn against your family, and
Right.
then you have
Right.
no one to turn to other than them because they want to be that source. And
Mm.
while they're the same one, and
Mhm.
we sat there, we had a very long conversation, and she had her children, and I told her, some of the things that she could do in order to get out of these situations. Because when somebody think that you're financially dependent on them, that's when they use that against you. So,
Mhm.
we had a
Yeah.
long conversation about it. So there are lots of issues going on in mental health. I went there to do women's health,
Wow.
and I
Wow.
ended up doing a lot of mental health there. So, and I see where the need is, Mia. And I don't know if I told you, but I will
Yeah.
be moving to Jamaica for a couple of years so that I'm able to be on the ground to assist as much as I can because I have
Wow.
to get this up and
That is
running.
awesome.
That well,
People probably think I'm crazy, but I know I'm not.
no.
Doesn't matter.
And Miss Nancy, you're talking to a Montagonian.
Oh,
So, on behalf of Montego Bay, I thank you.
you're
Uh,
welcome.
my mom was a principal, so she was a mental therapist in her own.
Everything. Yeah.
And I
Usually
used to
they are.
on this street called Hart Street in Montego Bay and speak to those same rum guys, and they, you know, put me on a cinder block and they call me auntie. Auntie, so what's going on with you, man? And they talk. And so thank you. Thank you very much for doing that. And I
You're
hope it will become island wide.
It will
Yes.
be. That's my mission. I
I-
get to a point in life right now that I feel like it's not about me anymore. I found my purpose, and my purpose is to help
right.
those who can't help themselves or don't know how to help themselves. And I can tell you, it gives me the biggest joy ever. And that's why I'm in Belgrade because I feel like even though I'm working there, I'm able to help. I'm able to make a difference. It's not all about the money. It's about making a difference in someone's life. And I feel like that's my calling and that's what I want to do. And whatever it takes, I'll get to do it.
Wow. I have to speak to you after the show to ask where exactly Montego Bay so I can refer people to you. 'Cause I'm still connected, very connected there.
Well, wonderful. I will be moving to Ocho Rios though, but the Montego Bay will
Okay.
still find me there.
Yes, yes. This is
My
very
family is in Ochi, so if I'm going to live in Jamaica,
right.
I want to be close to my family. Montego Bay is a little bit on the dangerous side right now. And
Mhm.
I'll be taking my two boys with me, so I have to go to somewhere that I'll be able to have the support I need with them.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Miss Mia,
Yes. Thank you so much, Miss Nancy and Miss Debs. Remember, the key is to ask questions that get a practical strategies, overcome barriers, making self-care sustainable, and addressing the unique challenges women and women of color may face. And now, Miss Debs, can you share some final words of wisdom?
I would be delighted. This has been a wonderful show. Thank you, Miss Nancy, Miss Mia. And it's about supporting each other as women. And therefore, I'd like to remind everyone that life comes in stages, and not all stages are going to be a bed of roses, so to speak. But please never give up. And remember this: miracles happen beneath the soil before the human eyes can see, which goes back to biblical days when we're told to walk by faith and not by sight. You're created out of love. So love yourself. Love yourself. Reach out to people who can teach you and guide you to love yourself. That self care that Miss Nancy spoke about is so important. I wish everyone health, happiness, and love. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deb, cuz for sharing those words of wisdom. I
You're
want to
welcome.
share a little prevention message with you all.
I want to remind our listeners that if someone you know is at immediate risk of self harm, suicide, or hurting another person, ask the tough question: are you considering suicide? Listen to the person without judgment. Call 911 or the local emergency number, or text TALK to 741741 to communicate with a trained crisis counselor. You can also call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1 800 273
8255 or visit online at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. They are available 24/7 across the United States. It's free and confidential. Stay with the person until a professional help arrives. Try to remove any weapons, medications, or other potential harmful objects. And please share a copy of this show with someone you love.
Miss Nancy, any final words that you'd like to share before we go?
One of my, yes, absolutely. It was such a pleasure being on the show, speaking with you ladies tonight. And one of the things I would like to say is just be kind. Be
Yes.
kind to people because you don't know what someone is going through. You don't know what that smile might do for that person. You may not know what that good morning might do for that person. And instead of saying something negative, try and find something positive to say because everybody's not going to want to tell us their story or what's going on with them. But if you're just being kind, it might just give them hope that they may need to live another day or they may need to be kind themselves. And if people are not being kind to you, we always can be kind to them. Give them something to think about. So my word for tonight is be kind.
Be kind. Thank you.
And it makes you feel good inside.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yes, kindness always makes you feel good inside. Again, I want to say thank you to my co-host, my cousin, Miss Debbie Jarrett, and our special
Welcome.
guest, Miss Nancy Fong Edwards, and you, the viewers. As women, we have the unique opportunity to uplift each other and provide the compassion and support needed to navigate mental challenges or struggles. It's crucial that we create a safe space where women feel heard, understood, and free from judgment when sharing their mental health
Mm.
experiences. Breaking the silence around mental health is a powerful act of courage. Surrounding yourself with a network of women who prioritize mental health can provide a vital source of encouragement, accountability, and practical resources. By embracing these strategies, we can cultivate a sisterhood of mutual understanding, empowerment, and healing, ultimately strengthening our collective resilience and well being by prioritizing our self care, seeking the help required to heal. Again, thank you all for tuning in. As always, until next time, stay safe, well, and continue to find your power of glow within the village of sisterhood, which equals our greater level of wellness within the mind, body, and soul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Been here since day one.
Coming up next week, as we continue part two of our conversation on mental health on the topic of narcissistic behaviors and their impact, part two, with our special guest, Dr. Catalina Farrington, President and CEO of Farrington Consultant, Master Clinical Psychologist, and Doctor of Divinity, specializing in holistic wellness, dedicated to promoting ministry as a consultant, educator, life coach, and counselor.